Now to China. They've sent 71 warplanes and 7 ships towards Taiwan, largest Air Force incursion on the Taiwan Strait on record. They say it's part of a combat readiness patrol and firepower strike drills. Others would say it's intimidation and naked aggression. This comes after the US House of Reps passed an $858 billion spending bill that includes military provisions for Taiwan. Where is this all going? Senator Jim Molan is the best man to speak to, and he joins me now. Senator, what do you make of China's actions here?
Rita, good evening. What I make of China's actions here is that it confirms exactly what we thought once the sideline meetings had occurred, that China has not changed in any way, shape or form. It is still an aggressive, authoritarian bully. Now, but we do need to get this into perspective. And that perspective is that 71 aircraft and a small number of ships sailing over towards Taiwan, then turning left or right and sailing around the island of Taiwan is no big deal. What the West has been doing, including Australia, but particularly the United States, is on the first day of their war in Iraq, for example, they mounted 2,000 sorties in one single day. Now, one of the reasons, Rita, for the Chinese doing it is that they do get a chance to practice multi-type of aircraft formations. And it's not as simple as it sounds. It is very, very difficult. But as I said, they're putting 71 airframes into the air. The Americans put 2,000 into the air and kept that up for a number of days. They test their own bigger formations by doing this. They test Taiwan's readiness. When they fly up, then all of a sudden the Taiwan radars turn on. Taiwan scrambles its jet fighters. So they test those things as well, and they wear out Taiwan's equipment. So I wouldn't get wrapped around the axle on it, but I would recognise it for what it is, and that is it's a sign that nothing has changed in China in any way, shape or form.
Well, how do you see this progressing? Are we going to see China eventually invade Taiwan? Is that going to lead to a war involving Australia?
Well, the way that I see it progressing is primarily for a considerable period of time, maybe a year or so, through diplomacy, but not with a 1944 style D-Day invasion. If China tried to sail the hundreds of ships it would need to get across the Taiwan Strait, 180 kilometres, and remember the English Channel was only 20 miles wide. If China tried to sail those ships across, by its own estimates, it would lose a third to a half of them in the first couple of days as they crossed the strait, and they would probably lose a third to a half of the number of aircraft because the Americans would fly out of Japan, South Korea, Guam, Diego Garcia, out of Alaska, and maybe even out of Darwin. So China's got to find another way of doing it, Rita. And they could do it tomorrow if they wanted. And I wrote a book about this that people might be interested. And that book was called Danger on Our Doorstep. But it said that before China embarks on a 1944 style D-Day, it ought to deal with the American airfields and bases in Japan, South Korea, Guam, Diego, and Alaska by missiles. Rita, they have an extraordinary missile force now. They have submarines at sea that can sneak up and whack missiles into any base they wanted, including Australian bases. So I suspect that they will not only do that, but that they will also take out our sea communications, that is the cables that carry about 90% of our internet, including military internet information, plus the satellites that look down on them. So I reckon, Rita, this will be over in a day or so. And then China will say to Taiwan, well, Taiwan, are you really going to keep fighting without the Americans backing you up? And Taiwan will roll over.
Oh, geez, that's scary, I've got to say. I mean, that's predictions of that happening in our lifetime, happening in the next 10 years possibly. That's just an enormous worry for everybody, I think. But Jim Molan... And sooner.
And sooner than that. Yes.
Senator Jim Molan, you are the best person to give us insights into this crucial area. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.